Lent is a season of reflection and contemplation that calls us to repentance and to follow in the footsteps of Jesus as he goes to the cross. But Lent doesn't need to be a constant downer where we focus on our failings. It can also be a time when we recognize the joys of belonging, the growth in knowledge and wisdom, the support of the community around us. It can be a time for knowing we need more, that we want more. More Christ, more discipleship, more discipline. This devotional series incorporates many of the themes in our Lent 2022 worship series, Gathered Together. There is space for confession and repentance of sin, but there's also space for encouragement and moments of reconciliation and recommitment. Let us be honest with ourselves and with God. Through it all is the image of the Christ who comes, not to condemn, but to save.
Hear this word from the letter to the Philippians. Though I have good reason to have this kind of confidence, if anyone else has reason to put their confidence in physical advantages, I have even more. I was circumcised on the 8th day. I am from the people of Israel and the tribe of Benjamin. I am a Hebrew of Hebrews. With respect to observing the law, I'm a Pharisee. With respect to devotion to the faith, I harass the church. With respect to righteousness under the law, I'm blameless. These things were my assets, but I wrote them off as a loss for the sake of Christ. But even beyond that, I consider everything a loss in comparison with the superior value of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. I have lost everything for him, but what I lost I think of as sewer trash, so that I might gain Christ and be found in him. In Christ I have a righteousness that is not my own and does not come from the law, but rather from the faithfulness of Christ. It is the righteousness of God that is based on faith. The righteousness that I have comes from knowing Christ, the power of his resurrection, and the participation of his sufferings. It includes being conformed to his death, so that I may perhaps reach the goal of the resurrection of the dead. It's not that I have already reached this goal or have already been perfected, but I pursue it, so that I may grab hold of it because Christ grabbed hold of me for just this purpose. Brothers and sisters, I myself don't think I've reached it, but I do this one thing. I forget about the things behind me and reach out for the things ahead of me. The goal I pursue is the prize of God's upward call in Christ Jesus. We tend to place a lot of trust in our credentials, especially if you've got them. After all, we work hard to attain being good at what we do. And in many cases, good credentials are a helpful way of determining whether someone knows what they're talking about. Would you go to a doctor who never went to medical school, or whose only prior experience was purchasing over-the-counter medication for themselves? Would you hire a plumber whose credentials were as an electrician? In those cases, credentials are a really helpful roadmap to help us figure out what is going to be useful. But when we think about our faith, how do we evaluate it? What credentials do we rely on? In this reading, Paul lists the ways that he met the criteria for being a faithful Jew. It's by birth, by zealotry, by keeping the law. He knows that while these credentials are good, we're meant to be impressed by what he says. Even God-given credentials. Knowing Jesus is what puts him in right relationship with God. So he gives up putting his trust in his credentials and instead puts all his trust in Jesus. It doesn't mean that Paul stopped using the skills of debate or knowledge of the law he had honed as a Pharisee, or stopped being energetic and living out his faith. When Paul chose to rely on Jesus, he placed his credentials in the right place, the right order. Those credentials became tools with which he could serve God in remarkable ways, but weren't the measuring stick of his faith. We can easily slip into relying on our credentials too much in the faith, like how long we've attended church, how many mission projects we've gone on, in order to assure ourselves that we're right with God. But Paul reminds us that we're to trust in Jesus, not our credentials, no matter how good they are. Take a moment in silent prayer and confession If you're looking to record your journey, you can use a journal of your own or click on the link in the description of this video. Let us pray. O holy Jesus, it is easy to rely on our accomplishments and credentials rather than you. Please help us to keep our lives in the right order so that we might serve you in humility and compassion, full of grace. Amen.